If you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. I'll protect you the moment I touch your hands. Relax every muscle and simply let go. Sleep! Way down. I've got you. Safe and secure.
Take a half step towards me and place your feet together.
Sleep! Way down.
Body limp, loose, and completely relaxed.
Take a half step towards me and place your feet together. Take a half step towards me. Sleep! Relax your muscles. Let yourself go limp and loose.
Sleep!
Way down.
Sleep!
Way down.
Sleep! Sleep! Sleep!
Way down.
Sleep!
Way down. Breathe out. In a moment, I'm going to relax you. Look at me now and relax now. Way down.
Welcome to How to Hypnotize Others, Volume 1, with me, Marshall Silver. The media has called me the greatest hypnotist of all time, for which I'm grateful. I've had the opportunity to appear on Late Night with David Letterman, The Late Show, Montel Williams, and many, many more. As an entertainer, my show has headlined on the main stage of the Riviera in Las Vegas and at Caesars in Lake Tahoe. What I do is more than entertainment, though. I also train individuals and corporations on getting more in their lives. I've had the opportunity to work with corporations like IBM, Ford, and many, many more. My audio, video, and in-person training programs are on the cutting edge of mind technologies. So sit back and relax and enjoy the video.
Yeah! Welcome to Volume 1 of How to Hypnotize Others. This is the first in a series of videos designed to teach you how to hypnotize other people. There are three major reasons that you might want to learn how to hypnotize other people. The first is to help those that you love get more from their lives and have them help you. The second major benefit is refining your own communication skills to powerfully influence other people. The third is to learn a skill that could potentially make you thousands of dollars as a hypnotist or hypnotherapist. And of course, it's also a lot of fun to master this powerful, harmless process. This tape has been created solely for your entertainment and is not intended to be a replacement for psychotherapy or counseling. Should you want to learn more about this process and the many varied applications, I recommend that you join me at my seminar called The Training or at my Hypnosis Certification Program. For more information about these programs, call my corporate offices. Besides the huge increase in personal confidence that you'll gain from learning to hypnotize others, you'll also understand more about yourself and be able to more quickly change your own habits through an understanding of how the human mind operates. This video is going to teach you three major lessons essential to learning how to hypnotize others. The first is it's going to teach you the fundamentals of inducing trance. You're going to learn all of the key elements to placing another person into a highly responsive state of mind where they'll have a strong desire to respond to the suggestions that you give them. You're also going to learn a process called psychoneuroduplication. PND is the ability to duplicate the mind or psyche and the nervous system and physiology of another individual to create similar results. Now, even though this process could be used to duplicate anything from the skills of a professional salesperson or a martial arts master, in this instance, you're going to use it to learn how to immediately take on the major characteristics of someone who is an authority in the process of hypnotizing others. And finally, you're going to learn the easiest and one of the most effective hypnotic inductions ever created. It's called the hand clasp induction. And by the time you're done viewing this video, you'll have seen all of the elements necessary to put other people into hypnotic trance. Understand that all hypnosis is ultimately an individual responding to what may be considered self-hypnosis. To understand trance, you must understand that it's the non-critical acceptance of ideas or concepts on a subconscious level. In other words, if someone says something to you and you believe it, you've been hypnotized. In the same instance, if you say something to yourself and you believe it, that's also considered trance. Now, it's always more effective for an outside entity, whether it be another person or an audio or videotape, to give suggestions to a subject because it allows that subject a greater opportunity to relax their conscious mind and to accept subconscious suggestions on a subconscious level. First, let's take a look at how the human mind operates.
To understand how to effectively program your mind, you must realize you think on two distinct levels, consciously and subconsciously. Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It decides what you can now believe, and at some other time what you don't. It's the mind that makes judgments about what's good or what's bad, what you can do and what you can't. Your subconscious mind is just a computer. It cannot make judgments. Just like a computer, it does not have the ability to reason. Whatever gets into your subconscious mind, it believes to be true. When you put garbage into a computer, you get garbage out. Hypnosis is setting aside your conscious mind and speaking directly to your subconscious computer.
Right now, let's take a look at some of the elements that will make this non-critical acceptance of thoughts and ideas easier. The number one skill in learning any new ability is to learn to act as if that ability is already true. In other words, if you already knew how to hypnotize others, how would you stand differently than you're standing now? Or how would you sit differently than you're seated now if you knew you could influence other people instantly? Would you speak with more conviction and confidence if you were a powerful hypnotist? And would you have a more powerful air about you? I think you might. The four major elements to trance or programming another person are, number one, an excited imagination. Secondly, a loss of balance. Third, a shock to the nervous system. And lastly, a definitive program. Now, how do we excite the imagination of the people we're going to hypnotize? There's a lot of ways to do it. One of the first ways is to speak with confidence. We might tell the subject we're about to hypnotize about the incredible video we've been studying called How to Hypnotize Others with Marshall Silver. We might tell them that we couldn't believe how easy it was to hypnotize other people using this process. This alone is going to get their mind wondering and excited that maybe, just maybe, you could actually hypnotize them. Now you couple this with an extreme level of confidence, and you're well on the way to inducing trance. Another way to excite the imagination is to deepen your voice and over-enunciate. The reason that there are so many deep voices in newscasters is that a deep voice is easier for the subconscious mind to recognize and to register and respond to. Another way is using the hypnotic gaze that you're going to learn a little later in this video as I teach you the hand clasp induction, which is, again, the number one way to place someone in trance and the easiest for a beginning student to learn. Now, tell me, which approach would you think would be more effective for a hypnotist? In a moment, I'm going to try to hypnotize you. I'm not really sure if it's going to work. Let's just see if it does, and I hope it does. Or do you think this approach might be more effective? In a moment, I'm going to hypnotize you. It's going to take less than a second. The moment that I do, your eyelids will close, your body will relax. You will become limp and loose as if you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. Of course, the second presentation is much stronger. Now in life, we can never be absolutely positive of our outcomes. And yet it's important to believe at the onset that we're going to accomplish that action which we're currently involved with. Because of this approach, with total confidence, and because of exciting the imagination, you're going to have a greater opportunity to place your subject into hypnotic trance. This confidence and this approach is absolutely essential. Your subjects must know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the moment you want to, you're going to hypnotize them. Now, the second major element of trance is taking away their balance. The reason this is important is that causing a person to lose their balance, whether it's mentally or physically, will cause them to be more responsive to suggestions. In that moment while they're off balance, they'll literally and figuratively grab for any anchor they can. It's at this moment that you'll fire off the suggestion that you want them to respond to. Once again, this loss of balance could be mental, it could be physical, or it could be both. Now, it could be that the hypnotist physically pulls the subject off balance, like this footage.
Take a half step towards me. Sleep. Relax your muscles. Let yourself go limp and loose. That's fine, Shannon. You're doing perfectly.
Or it could be using semantics or words that confuse the subconscious mind and make it mentally off balance, such as, what time is it? Oh, that's a very nice watch, how you relax and let go and focus on the sound of my voice. Another semantical off-balancing process might be, have you ever noticed how you can now relax, let your muscles become limp and loose, and let your eyelids close down? These are embedded commands that you'll learn in a future volume of how to hypnotize others. Now, the third element in inducing trance is creating a shock to the nervous system. This could take on the form of a loud noise or a sudden movement. And this shock to the nervous system and taking away that balance will usually occur simultaneously. Take a look at this footage to see exactly what I mean.
The moment I touch your hands, relax every muscle and simply let go. Sleep. Way down. I've got you. Safe and secure. Take a half step towards me and place your feet together. Sleep. Way down. Body limp, loose, and completely relaxed.
Now that you understand the mechanical elements of trance, let's look at the characteristics that will allow you to become a hypnotist. Again, first and foremost, it's extreme confidence. I want you at home and all of you here in our studio audience to say the words, "I am a hypnotist."
I am a hypnotist.
Say it again, louder this time. "I am a hypnotist."
I am a hypnotist.
And once more, with total confidence, "I am a hypnotist."
I am a hypnotist.
At my weekend seminar called The Training, as I teach people how to create anything they want in their lives, I teach a process called psychoneuroduplication. Again, that's duplicating the mind and body of someone else to produce similar results. Now, at the seminar, I use something that most people have never had any experience in, and that's fire reading. Now, since everything begins in thought, I have the attendees at the seminar say the words, "I am a fire reader." And just like you right now are beginning to believe that you're already a hypnotist, they begin to accept the fact that they may already possess all of the skills and power necessary to eat fire. And then hundreds of people actually eat fire right on the spot. The next characteristic of a hypnotist is the ability to take charge. In my sales seminar, Hypnotic Selling, I teach that small commitments lead to large commitments. When we can get our subjects or our customers to follow simple directions, such as sit down, move your chair over there, place your hands in your lap, then it gets easier to get them to follow bigger directions, such as relax now. Also suggestions like your eyelids are now locked down and you cannot open them. The next characteristic of a hypnotist is the ability to deal with whatever emerges. What this means is that no matter what happens, no matter what the subject says or does, the hypnotist will act as if that was exactly what they expected would happen, and they'll continue with the process. The last characteristic of a hypnotist is congruency, or the ability to walk their talk, and a total belief in what you're doing and your outcome. Just like you might not want to go to a doctor who smokes to stop smoking, you must have a genuine belief in what you're doing, and that it works, and that you're going to put that subject into trance, and that they're going to respond perfectly to your suggestions. In a moment, we're going to select someone from our studio audience. I'm going to bring them forward and actually hypnotize them on the spot. You might want to grab a pencil and paper and take some notes as I demonstrate this process so that you can hypnotize someone where you're at as well. Go ahead and pause the tape, and as soon as you grab your paper and pencil, we'll be set up and ready to get back to you, to teach you the hand clasp induction. Welcome back. You should have your paper and pencil in hand right now, and you're about to learn the hand clasp induction. Before I actually bring a subject up from the audience and demonstrate the induction to you, I thought I'd take a couple of minutes to explain what hypnosis is. Trance, or hypnosis, is the non-critical acceptance of ideas or concepts on a subconscious level. Again, in other words, one person says something, another person believes it to be so, that's hypnosis. If you heard a newscaster tell you something on the news last night and believed it non-critically, why, you've accepted what's called a trance or hypnotic suggestion. In a moment, I'm going to invite somebody up, and you're going to see me relax them in hypnotic relaxation, or a theta state. In that relaxed state, their body is going to be limp and loose. The reason a hypnotist will relax a subject physically is that when the body is physically relaxed, the mind is most open and responsive to suggestions. If you've ever been in an argument and you've ever been so tense you could hardly hear what the other person was saying, even if what they said meant something and was probably right and you resisted it, well, that's the opposite or the antithesis of hypnosis. When the body is relaxed, the mind is open and responsive to suggestions. Again, that's the reason you'll see a hypnotist quite often relax the subject before they give them hypnotic suggestions. It's not essential, and yet it's most effective. So, let's jump into it. As I select someone here from our studio audience, take some notes and watch along, and as soon as I'm done with the demonstration, I'll start again and break down each element to explain exactly to you how you can do the same induction with a friend at home. So, who here would like to be hypnotized? Put your hand up. Great. How about you, pretty lady? Come right this way. Watch your step on the edge of the stage. Hello there.
Hi.
Say your name for everybody.
I'm Andy.
Hi, Andy. My name is Marshall. Before you sit down, I'm going to pull the chair forward just a little bit. And I want you to step to your left and then sit right back in the chair. Where are you from, Andy, originally?
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
You are. I'm from Michigan originally. We're kind of from the same area, and now we live here in Southern California. Nice place, huh?
Yeah, I like it.
Sit back in your chair all the way for me. Place your hands down in your lap. Andy, in a moment I'm going to teach you how to relax and how to open up your mind to new concepts and ideas. Before I do, I'm going to demonstrate the way your mind operates and the way it accepts suggestions. So what I'd like you to do is right now extend both of your arms straight out in front of you. Take your right hand and turn your right hand palm up. In a moment, Andy, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. The moment you close your eyes, you're going to curl your right fingers in as if they held on to a bucket of sand. You're going to let your left wrist go limp and loose as if there were a giant bouquet of helium balloons tied right to your wrist. After that, you're going to concentrate. You're going to visualize. You're going to imagine that bucket of sand is becoming heavy, and your right hand will begin sinking and falling toward the floor. You're going to concentrate and visualize that bouquet of balloons becoming lighter, and your left hand will begin rising and lifting. Take a long, deep breath and close your eyes. Close your eyes and imagine that bucket of sand is now in your right hand. Imagine that bouquet of balloons is now tied to your left wrist. Visualize the bucket of sand now becoming heavier, and your right hand begins sinking and falling toward the floor. Concentrate, visualize. Imagine that bouquet of balloons is becoming lighter, and your left hand now begins rising and lifting. Sinking and falling goes your right hand, rising and lifting goes your left. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. The moment I say the number 3, you'll open your eyes, you'll look at your hand, and you'll see how well you've concentrated. On the count of 3, open your eyes, look at your hands, see how well you've concentrated. 1, 2, and 3. Open your eyes and look at your hands. Well, as you can see, Andy, you're concentrating perfectly, and you're going to be an excellent subject. So drop your hands back down and relax. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to hypnotize you. It's going to take less than a second. The moment that I do, you'll place both your hands straight out in front of you. And this time, you're going to place your palms facing towards each other and spread your fingers wide. That's fine. You're doing perfectly. After that, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. The moment you close your eyes, it will feel as if there are magnets in your palms, and your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, you will allow them to now interlock and clasp your hands down tightly. That's fine. You're doing perfectly. Extend your hands straight out in front of you, palms approximately 12 inches apart, fingers spread. In a moment, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes, and the moment you close your eyes, it will feel as if there are magnets in your palms, and your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, they will now interlock and clasp down tightly. Extend your hands straight out in front of you. Take a long, deep breath. Spread your fingers now and breathe out. Breathe in deeply. And now close your eyelids down tightly. Close your eyelids down now, and it feels as if there are magnets in your palms. Your hands begin pulling and tugging, tugging and pulling, pulling and tugging together. As if there were magnets in your palms, your hands are pulling together, locking down, sealing shut, clasping tightly together the moment they touch. That's fine, Andy. You're concentrating perfectly. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to touch your hands, and the moment I touch your hands, your fingers will lock even more completely tighter together, locking down, sealing shut, clasping tighter and tighter together. That's fine, Andy. You're concentrating perfectly. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1. The moment I say the number 1, you will try to unclasp your hands. The moment I say the number 1, you will try to unclasp your hands. And the more you try to unclasp your hands, the more securely locked down your hands will become. On number 3, your hands are indeed locking down, sealing shut, clasping tighter and tighter together. There will be nothing you can do, say, or think that will allow your hands to separate. On number 2, it feels as if your hands were carved from a single block of wood. On the next number 1, you will try to unclasp your hands. The moment you try to unclasp your hands, they lock down, seal shut, clasp tighter and tighter together. Number 1, make the attempt, satisfy yourself, try to unclasp your hands. The more you try to unclasp your hands, the more securely locked down they become. Try even harder. That's fine. You're doing perfectly. Stop trying now. Allow your hands to remain extended straight out in front of you. In a moment, Andy, I'm going to touch your hands. And the moment I touch your hands, they will easily and readily unlock. In fact, the moment I touch your hands, you'll relax every muscle in your body, and you'll become as limp and loose as if you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. The moment I touch your hands, relax every muscle, become limp and loose as if you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. Sleep! Relax way down. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, you'll open your eyes, feeling fantastic in every way. The moment I say the words, relax now, and snap my fingers, your eyelids close, your body relaxes, you'll let go even more completely than you are right now. On the count of 3, open your eyes. When I say the words, relax now, and snap my fingers, your eyelids close, your body relaxes, you'll let go even more completely than you are right now. On the count of 3, open your eyes. 1, 2, and 3. Sit up and relax now, way down. Each and every time you relax in this fashion, you'll let go even more completely than the time before. On the count of 3, open your eyes. When I say relax now, you let go again. 1, 2, 3, fully aware. Relax now. Way down. That's fine. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to tug lightly on your right arm. As I tug on that right arm, the muscles in your shoulder, your arm, and your hand will become stiff and rigid as if they were made from a bar of steel. The moment I tug on that arm, those muscles will tense and become stiff and rigid as if they were made from a steel bar. Stiff and rigid as a steel bar. Freeze the muscles in your arm in that position. As I tug on them, they become more stiff and rigid as a steel bar. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, you'll open your eyes. You'll try to move your arm, and again, the more you try to move it, the more stiff and rigid it becomes. On the count of 3, open your eyes. Try to move your arm, and the more you try to move it, the more stiff and rigid it becomes. 1, 2, and 3. Open your eyes, sit up in your chair, and try to move your arm. The more you try to move that arm, the more stiff and rigid it becomes. That's fine. Stop trying. In a moment, I'm going to touch your arm, and the moment that I do, it becomes limp and loose. Your arm relaxes back against your side. Your eyelids close. Your body relaxes, and you let go even more completely than you have all evening. Relax. Go way down. On the count of 3, open your eyes, feeling fantastic in every way. This thunderous round of applause is for you. 1, 2, 3, fully aware. Make her feel good. Now, those of you at home, what you're seeing right now is very real. Andy is responding to trance suggestions, the non-critical acceptance of ideas or concepts on a subconscious level. You're kind of surprising yourself a bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, relax now, way down. Do you notice that each and every time Andy relaxes, she lets go more completely than the time before? As you may have already learned from the Passion, Profit, and Power tapes, every time we respond in a given fashion, every time we do something in a specific way, it gets easier for us to respond in that fashion again. Kind of like the first time a person smokes a cigarette and takes that unnatural action, it's difficult. And yet every time they take that action, it gets easier and easier and easier. Just as every time Andy relaxes, she'll relax more completely than the time before. Andy, on the count of 3, you'll open your eyes, feeling fantastic in every way. Again, every time I say the words relax now, your eyelids close, your body relaxes, you let go completely. 1, 2, 3, fully aware. That's fine. You're doing perfectly. Sit back in your chair for me, and I'm going to address both our studio audience and the people at home and explain exactly what we did to create the results we just created. 2 things to keep in mind. First of all, nobody will respond against their will unless it's a covert suggestion, and we're not dealing with covert suggestions on this videotape. You're going to place a subject in trance in your initial inductions, especially with the hand clasp induction, by first creating rapport with the subject and trust. When I invited Andy up upon the platform, first thing I did was extended my hand to help her up. And when she got here, the first thing I did was ask her, where are you from? In gaining rapport with a subject or someone we're going to work with, the first thing we want to do is make them feel comfortable. One of the easiest ways to make someone feel comfortable is find something that we have in common or identify with them. In this instance, both of us being from the Midwest, Michigan and Ohio, we had some commonality, something in common. Second thing I do when I hypnotize a subject is I begin finding small ways to get them to accept little suggestions. When Andy first sat down, before she sat, I asked her to take a small step to her right. As I moved the chair, I said, step back again now, sit back in your chair, scoot back a little further. In this way, I got Andy to accept small directions from me, so that later on, as I put her in trance, she'll accept the greater suggestions. After that, I did what is called a yardstick test. I had Andy extend both of her hands straight out in front of her. As she extended her hands straight out in front of her, I had her turn one hand, palm up, keep her other hand, palm down. Again, I'm giving her specific direction, telling her exactly how to respond, which increases the opportunity and the likeliness of her responding to the suggestions I give her later. I told her that she'd close her eyelids down, and the moment she did, she'd curl her right fingers in as if they held onto a bucket of sand, and let her left wrist go limp and loose, as if there were a giant bouquet of helium balloons attached to her wrist. After that, I told her to concentrate, visualize, imagine the bucket of sand becoming heavy. And as I did, I drove her right hand down and pressed it toward the ground. I told her she'd also concentrate, visualize, imagine her left hand becoming lighter. And I began to raise her left hand into the air. Now the reason, you can relax him now, the reason I moved her hands for her was to give her a specific direction on what I wanted her to do. In other words, cut the groove into the record of her subconscious mind and show her how to respond later on her own. After that, I had her hands definitely move on her own. This is an indication to me of how responsive the subject is. Some subjects may not move their hands at all when I suggest the bucket and the balloons. Other subjects, like Andy, may respond a lot. The key here is to just be observant. See if indeed the subject is responding well. If their arms move widely apart, then you're likely to have a really simple time hypnotizing the subject. If their hands don't move much, realize you're probably going to have to work a little bit and just be prepared. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's just an indication of how responsive this particular subject is to the method that you're using to communicate with them. Now after that, as I began the hypnotic induction, the actual hand clasp induction, what I did was I told her to extend her hands straight out in front of her. I told her to spread her fingers wide, and when I did, I tapped her hands to give her a specific indication of how to do that. After that, I told her to look at me. I also told her that in a moment I am going to hypnotize you. It's going to take less than a second. Relax your hands again. This process, telling her what's going to happen, is a small part of the process going to happening happened. In going to happening happened, we tell the subject what's going to happen. In a few moments, you're going to see me tell her what's happening as her hands draw closer together. And then after that, I'm going to tell her what happened by telling her, did you notice how you let go and your whole body became limp and loose? Not only is this the structure for an effective hypnotic induction, this is also the structure for any kind of a great presentation. You tell the person you're presenting to what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. So again, it looks like this. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to hypnotize you. It's going to take less than a second. In a moment, you're going to place your hands straight out in front of you, palms facing each other, fingers spread. Again, as I tap her fingers, it gives her a specific suggestion to open her fingers wide. After that, you're going to close your eyes, and the moment that you do, it will feel as if there are magnets in your palms, and your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, they will now interlock and clasp down tightly. A couple of things to note as we were going through that process, just relax them again. First of all, I'm beginning something called the hypnotic gaze. Now, I told you before that one of the elements of inducing trance is to excite the subject's imagination. If you're paying close attention, and I know you are, you notice that as I began my induction, my voice deepened slightly. This is a subconscious signal to the subject that I'm about to give them a trance suggestion and actually allows it to register more deeply on a subconscious level. The hypnotic gaze means that I'm actually going to look at the subject, and instead of focusing directly where their eyes are, I'm going to focus approximately 8 inches beyond their eyes. So in other words, it looks like I'm looking right through them. This also excites their imagination and makes their mind on some level say, he's about to do it, I'm going to be hypnotized, and causes them to respond more. Andy, we're going to do this again. Watch closely, and I'm going to teach you something called an embedded command. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to tell you to extend your hands straight out in front of you. The moment you do, you'll place your palms approximately 12 inches apart, fingers spread wide. That's fine, you're doing perfectly. After that, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. And the moment you close your eyes, it will feel as if there are magnets in your palms. Your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, they will now interlock and clasp down tightly. When I tell the subject that their fingers will now interlock, that's a direct command for the subject to now interlock their fingers, or what's called an embedded command. For more information on embedded commands, pick up a copy of Hypnotic Selling, available through my corporate offices. Place your hands down in your lap. From here, I'm going to do that twice and give the subject the specific direction of how their hands are going to come together before I actually begin the process. So this time, we'll proceed past it. And in a moment, I'm going to hypnotize you. It's going to take less than a second. The moment that I do, I'll tell you to extend your hands straight out in front of you. The moment that you do, you'll place your palms approximately 12 inches apart, fingers spread. That's fine, you're doing perfectly. After that, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes, and the moment you do, it will feel as if there are magnets in your palms, and your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, they will now interlock and clasp down tightly. As they interlock their fingers, I will also lock down onto their fingers and squeeze their hands together. That's fine. Take a long, deep breath. Spread your fingers wide, and now close your eyes. As you close your eyelids down, your hands now begin pulling and tugging, tugging and pulling, pulling and tugging together. As if there were magnets in your palms, your hands are drawing together, locking down, sealing shut, clasping tightly together the moment they touch. Did you notice that because I gave the subject the suggestion that their fingers would lock down, the moment I said the words lock down, Andy's fingers locked tightly together? Again, I'm going to step to the side, and I'm going to tell Andy in a moment I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1. I'm going to give her hands a squeeze to lock the fingers down tighter. I'm going to tell her, Andy, in a moment you're going to try to unclasp your hands. The moment you try to unclasp your hands, you'll find that there's nothing you can do, say, or think that will allow your hands to separate. The key word in this suggestion is the word try. Anytime I give a hypnotic subject the suggestion to try something, it's suggesting that they'll fail. So when I tell her to try to unclasp her hands, I'm actually telling her not to unclasp her hands at all. So it goes like this. Andy, in a moment I'm going to tell you to try to unclasp your hands. In a moment I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1, and the moment you try to unclasp your hands, the more you try, the more securely locked down your hands become. Two elements at play here. Number one, the word try. I'm telling her again, in a moment I'm going to tell you to do something. You're going to try to unclasp your hands. I also give her something called a direct link. A direct link means I'm combining two elements to cause a specific result. In this instance, I'm combining the act of trying to unclasp her hands with her hands actually clasping down tighter. By giving the suggestion, the more you try to unclasp your hands, the more securely locked down your hands become. Again, that is what's called a direct link. Andy, in a moment I'm going to count from 3 to 1. The moment I say the number 1, you'll try to unclasp your hands. Also notice every time I say the word try, I emphasize it and I change my tonality. As I count backwards from 3 to 1, the moment I say the number 1, Andy, try to unclasp your hands. On number 3, your hands are locking down, sealing shut, clasping tighter and tighter together. On number 2, it feels as if your hands are carved from a single block of wood. On the next number, you'll try to unclasp your hands. The more you try, the more securely locked down your hands become. Number 1, make the attempt, satisfy yourself, try to unclasp your hands. Now, as the camera comes in real close on her hands, you'll see that they're actually pressing tighter together now. That's fine. Now I give her the suggestion to go into trance by again doing a direct link. I tell her, Andy, that's fine, stop trying. Now, I don't want my hypnotic subject to continue trying to unclasp their hands forever because, frankly, quite often, eventually, they would. Instead, what I'm going to do is say, that's fine, stop trying. And in a moment, I'm going to touch your hands. The moment I touch your hands, they will easily and readily unlock. In fact, the moment I touch your hands, you will relax every muscle in your body and become as limp and loose as if you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. The moment I touch your hands, relax every muscle and simply let go. As I touch her hands, I'm also going to press down on her hands. And I'm going to support her neck and pull her body towards me to relax her entire body. Do you remember at the beginning of this video when I told you that one of the elements of trance is taking the subject off balance and then giving a shock to their nervous system? Well, these two elements are going to happen simultaneously right now as I press her off balance by pushing down on her hands, supporting her neck, and gently pulling her toward my body and giving her a loud command to relax. Watch how it looks. And as I touch your hands will easily and readily unlock. In fact, your whole body will become limp and loose, as if you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. Sleep! Way down. As Andy relaxes every muscle in her body and becomes limp and loose, the key element in this instance is to realize you as the hypnotist are in charge. This is your subject. They're your responsibility. It is your responsibility to make sure they stay safe. Quite often, the first time you hypnotize somebody, or the second time or third time, you're going to surprise yourself. Your subject's going to go into a deep trance and possibly roll out of the chair. Now, I've seen subjects roll right out of the chair, and people who were just learning the process become so shocked that they stood up and went, oh, what do I do? Rather than do that, be forewarned and be aware the subject could potentially fall out of the chair, and make sure you've moved to the side to protect them. I'm about to give Andy what's called a post-hypnotic suggestion, or a mind trigger, to go back into trance, so that rather than going through the entire hand clasp process, I can give her two key words that will put her back into trance. I'm going to give her the key words, relax now. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, you'll open your eyes. The moment I say the number 3, you'll open your eyes, and when you hear me say the words, relax now, your eyelids will close, your body will relax, and you'll let go even more completely than you are right now. Once again, this is what's called a post-hypnotic reinduction, or a mind trigger, or in neurolinguistics, they call it an anchor. Every time I say the words, relax now, your eyelids close, your body relaxes, you'll let go more completely than the time before. On the count of 3, open your eyes, feeling fantastic in every way, Andy. 1, 2, and 3. Open your eyes and sit up. Feels good, doesn't it?
I love it.
Yes. Notice I just gave what was called a tie-down, or an arcing statement question to Andy. I said, feels great, doesn't it? Didn't ask, it feels great, doesn't it? I said, it feels great, doesn't it? Giving her an affirmative response statement that she can feel better about. Andy, before I put you back in trance one last time, since you've been so good about allowing me to demonstrate this process to our home and studio audience, are there any suggestions I can give to you to help you out in your life?
Yeah, I would like you to suggest that I make better food choices.
You got it. Relax now. Way down. Andy, in a moment, I'm going to count from 3 to 1. The moment I say the number 1, I'll say one word. The moment I say that one word, you'll allow your eyelids to remain closed, and you'll repeat the word out loud to me. When you say this word in the future, as you're desiring to eat, you'll recognize the distinction between eating because you're bored, lonely, or frustrated, or eating foods that simply make your mouth feel good instead of making your body feel good. When you say this word in the future, it will allow you to make greater choices in the food that you eat and allow you to eat when your body genuinely needs replenishment instead of when you're bored or lonely or frustrated or even happy. As I count backwards from 3 to 1, allow your eyelids to remain closed and repeat this word out loud to me. 3, 2, 1, power.
Power.
Say it again louder. Power.
Power.
To make proper choices that are in alignment with who you truly are, a slender, attractive, powerful human being. On the count of 3, open your eyes, feeling fantastic in every way. These beneficial ideas and concepts make a deep and lasting impression upon your subconscious mind, always to remain, to be recalled the moment you say the word power. On the count of 3, open your eyes, 1, 2, 3, fully aware. That's fine. We're going to break again. I want you to pause the machine, and as you do, you're going to go and get the script that came along with your How to Hypnotize Others video. When you come back, we're going to be set up both with Andy and myself and everybody in our studio audience to show you exactly how to step-by-step hypnotize another person. So pause the tape, go get the script that came with this video. We'll wait right here for you. Welcome back. You should have the hand clasp induction script in your hands right now. It's a two-sided piece of paper that came along with your How to Hypnotize Others video. You're going to follow along in this script, and as I work with Andy, see how easy it is to learn this powerful process. To begin with, I recommend that you face your subject directly like this. Hello there.
Hello.
Sit back in your chair a little bit. Again, remember, these are the little control or structured suggestions that you begin the process with. Take the script and place it right on your lap like this. You look down at the script and the first sentence says, "In a moment I'm going to hypnotize you." In a moment I'm going to tell you to extend your hands straight out in front of you. When you do this, you'll place your hands approximately 12 inches apart. After that, I'll tell you to close your eyes. Now in the beginning, you'll have to read your script. As you're reading through all of this, you'll notice that partway down in your script, by the 5th paragraph, the printing becomes bold. At the bold printing, it's telling you to take an action. And what it says is, as you read the above, go through the motions of putting their hands together. So, I say, in a moment I'm going to tell you to extend your hands straight out in front of you. When you do, you'll place your palms approximately 12 inches apart. After that, I will tell you to close your eyes. The moment you close your eyes, it will feel as if there are magnets in your palms, and your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, they will now interlock and clasp down tightly. It says, as you're reading the above, you're moving their hands together. When their hands come together and touch, make sure they clench their fingers together. Then you say, "That's fine, unclasp your hands." The script says, repeat this a second time. So you go back to the top of the script and say, "In a moment, I'm going to tell you to close your eyes. In a moment, I'm going to hypnotize you. It will take less than a second. In a moment, I'm going to tell you to extend your hands straight out in front of you. When you do, you'll place your hands approximately 12 inches apart. After that, I will tell you to close your eyes. The moment you close your eyes, it will feel like there are magnets in your palms, and your hands will begin pulling and tugging together. The moment your fingers touch, they will now interlock and clasp firmly together. That's fine. Now unclasp your hands." After you've repeated it a second time, have them spread their hands again. Now we go into the induction. You say, "Look at me now," and close your eyes. When they close their eyelids down, you can look at your script as much as you want because they can't see you. The next thing you're going to do is say, as you close your eyes, your hands begin pulling and tugging, tugging and pulling, pulling and tugging together. I begin snapping my fingers to give them a rhythm, and the sound of my voice makes their hands come closer together. As if there were magnets in your palms, your hands are being drawn together. Now notice that her hands came together before I got done with that portion of my script. Fear not. The moment you see their hands locked together, look down at the next sentence and it says, locking down, sealing shut, clasping tightly together the moment they touch. Now, as her hands lock down, you'll notice the next paragraph is not in parentheses. It's not in quotation marks. So, as you say, locking down, sealing shut, clasping tighter and tighter together, If you should encounter any resistance with your subject, it's going to give you some strategies on how to deal with it on your printed script. After their hands have locked down, flip over your script and continue. It says, again in the quotation marks, in a moment I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1. The moment I say the number 1, you will try to unclasp your hands. The moment you try to unclasp your hands, you'll find there is nothing you can do, say, or think that will allow your hands to separate. In fact, the more you try to unclasp your hands, the more securely locked down they become. On number 3, your hands are locking down, sealing shut, clasping tighter and tighter together. Notice my slight shift in tonality. On number 2, it feels as if your hands were carved from a single block of wood. There will be nothing you can do, say, or think that will allow your hands to separate. On the next number, you will try to unclasp your hands, and the more you try, the more securely locked down they become. Number 1, make the attempt, satisfy yourself. Again, in bold type, it gives you a direction and says, after a few seconds of trying, continue. That's fine, stop trying. In a moment, I'm going to touch your hands, and the moment I touch your hands, they will easily and readily unlock. In fact, the moment I touch your hands, you will relax every muscle in your body and become as limp and loose as if you were made from a handful of loose rubber bands. The moment I touch your hands, you will relax every muscle in your body and become limp and loose. At this moment, you want to stand up, move to the side of the subject, and get ready to touch their hands as I taught you before. Put your hand behind their neck and pull them toward you. Touch their hands and give a loud command to sleep. It says, that's fine, you're doing perfectly. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and the moment I say the number 3, you'll open your eyes, feeling refreshed and revitalized, fantastic in every way. 1, 2, and 3. Open your eyes. That's fine, you're doing perfectly. Now again, at the bottom of your script, and I make this note personally, this script is used as a guideline, and certainly you're going to ad-lib or move about a bit for a more natural delivery and being able to keep up with your subject. There you have it. This concludes Volume 1 of Hypnotizing Others. You've learned the basics of hypnosis. You've learned the characteristics of a hypnotist. You've also learned the most powerful and the easiest to learn hypnotic induction, the hand clasp induction. Now it's up to you to practice. Work with subjects as often as you can. I recommend that you maybe start with somebody not real close to you, maybe not a family member or someone you know very well. Start with someone who might realize that you could hypnotize them and then bring it closer to home. You know, hypnosis can be used for a lot of things. It can be used for curing phobias, overcoming resistance to change, helping you lose weight, become a non-smoker, making you more focused and confident, and also helping you sleep better. Now, I encourage you to watch this tape again and again to learn the lessons. I also invite you wholeheartedly to join me at a one-on-one seminar, the training, the advanced training, or our 50-hour, 5-day intensive hypnotic certification course. Until we meet again, my name is Marshall Silver. Thank you for letting me be this great part of the advancement of you in your life. Until we do meet again, remember to celebrate life. Thank you. Yeah.